to all take a seat and we can get started. My name is Linda Locke and I am president of the Berryessa Citizens Advisory Council. We're one of the few groups in the city that backed a change from citywide to district city council elections. So we've been around a long time. This is our 50th year, and so we're having a celebration, and we'll talk about that a little bit later. We just need to get started, but our secretary is not here, so I'm going to take notes as I'm going along. We also had I don't even have them on here. The minutes for May were sent out electronically. So if you have any questions or concerns about those, let me know, or I'll tell Ty, because I think Ty is home sick still, okay? The treasurer's report, Susan's out there guarding the table, so we'll just move along. Tonight, instead of Captain Sanchez being here for the police report, Officer Kim is going to give the report tonight. Did she come back inside? Hello, where are you? She went back out.
Hello, good evening, everyone. My name is Officer Kim. I'm with the San Jose Police Department. I'm going to be representing on behalf of Captain Sanchez today. I am currently assigned as the Community Policing Officer in the Foothill Division. I cover basically 2 districts. There are also other officers that cover the secondary Foothill Division. I did pull kind of a stat for the last 30 days in a 1-mile radius. According to some of the stats, it's showing the calls for service that we have, the proactivity that the officers are going out and conducting stops and arresting people with warrants and making self-initiated stops. So some of the stats that we have currently are disturbances, which are disturbances with family, neighbors. We also have a lot of issues with racers. I'm not sure if you guys have seen that. And there is also other calls like accidents and certain welfare checks, especially people that are under the influence in the middle of the street. So as of now, there isn't anything really too concerning in the area. I've been very, very proactive in our majority of our high crime areas. I've been coming out at least twice a week, about 20 hours a week, policing certain areas, ticketing cars, citing cars, putting 72-hour notices. We're having a lot of issues with homelessness and RVs. So I'm in the process of doing homeless abatements, as well as trying to get resources for people out there and having people move along. So as of now, there's normally the concerns that I'm addressing, but if there's anything else, please feel free to ask me. Yes. I'm sorry, I can't hear what you're saying. Yes, so those are our main issues. Okay. Yes, so you're talking about the racers and the car shows. So we are addressing it. We have paid cars. So currently our city is not working really well with the staff in regards to the numbers of patrol. So patrol can't technically always handle that. We do have racer details where it's called the red team, and we have officers that sign up on their weekends to come help out and address the issue. We have a lot of resources. If patrol can't handle the racers, we pull in other resources. We have the helicopter up there. I've also worked the racers majority of the time that I've been here, and I know it's very, very frustrating. But some of the racers that come, they're not from the area. they're normally from the East Bay. They're normally from Costa County. Like, they're from different counties of part of the Bay, and they, it's for them. It's like they know that we're going to address the issue, so it's almost like they want to come here, cause an issue, and then flee. But we do have like an operation where we work really well together with our helicopter, and we will issue cites. We will tow their cars for 30 days. We'll make them go see a ref if they have any modified things in their car. So we are addressing the situation. It's just, unfortunately, social media has a big factor in it. They promote it, and then everybody comes to San Jose. So it starts off like a car show, right? And then it leads to them racing and doing sideshows, but that is being addressed.
Sierra and Mossland, where the teenagers stole a car and knocked down the gentleman's wire fence and then ran into the neighbor's daughter's car. And the police didn't show up till 5. It was reported, and the neighbors left the car running. I don't know that much about it. The lady didn't make it to the meeting. She was going to address it with you.
I'm not familiar with that incident. It probably happened when I wasn't working.
Right.
But when it comes like that, unfortunately, there is a YouTube video that's going around that's showing these teenagers how to steal cars using a USB. They're also going on joyrides. So majority of the time that the cars that are being stolen are usually teenagers. I've actually recently got into, we were following a stolen car, and the vehicle stopped at Oak Ridge. So we started from the east side, and we literally followed the car all the way from Oak Ridge, and they ended up footbilling. And when they came out, they were teenagers. So majority of the drivers are teenagers, and they're getting the opportunity to jump in these cars and take off. So I'm not actually familiar with that incident, but hopefully the officers responded in a certain amount of time. Okay. Yeah. Okay. No worries. Yes.
Wait. You need the microphone.
I'm a resident of Upper Sierra Road. How often do you patrol up there and go up to the open space park?
Sierra, that I don't really patrol Sierra. That's a different division. I'm normally kind of on King and Alum Rock. That's another division with other officers, so I'm not really familiar of that area. Is there a particular area that needed to be addressed?
Upper Sierra Road.
Just Sierra Road, like a cross street?
Okay, by the open Sierra Vista Open Space Park is City of San Jose, which is jurisdiction of San Jose PD. Also, there's different pockets up there. There's unincorporated, and then there's city. Like, I'm in the county, the city is right above me, and then it goes city, county. And right below me is city, and the people speed up to see the sunset and speed back. We have a lot of racers up there too, especially right now.
Yeah, racers are a really big issue of the city. It does take a lot of resources, but we're trying to address the issue. Like I said, on the weekends, I know that officers are working with air support. We have designated officers just for racers. We're ticketing a lot of people. We're towing their cars for 30 days. And we're also, like I said, sending them to the referee. So for the 30-day hold, though, I can say it's going to be $3,000 for them to remove their car. So that is, like I said, it's one of our biggest issues, and majority of the racers you can say that statistic-wise, they're coming from other counties, being promoted by social media. But we have officers that are normally monitoring those social media accounts, so we know when they're going to set up. So when they set up, we send officers, we deploy officers to that direction, and then somehow they know that we're coming, so they'll move to a different part of the city. It's like just constantly trying to move them and push them to another city. But San Jose have so much space, right, where they have room to do donuts, and they're like constantly reckless driving. But I know that on the weekends, our command staff are definitely addressing the issues.
I had a question here on,
Yes.
has there been any change in the frequency of catalytic converter thefts in this area?
I'm sorry, can you repeat that?
Has there been any change in the frequency of catalytic converter thefts from automobiles in this area?
I'm not sure. I wouldn't be able to quite answer that, but I know that that's constant an issue. I did run across a vehicle today that was missing a catalytic converter, but I'm not, from my understanding, I haven't seen any like a tick rise of those issues. I know that they've addressed it. Like a couple months ago, we had a unit where they did arrest multiple people, and it was all over the news, but I'm not seeing any reports of catalytic converters being taken. It's more like auto thefts and stolen vehicles, from my knowledge.
That's a good thing then.
Okay.
I have something to say. Okay, how's that? Yeah. I have an issue with mail theft, which if you have a streets box, I'll try. I've been sick. If you have a street side mailbox, they hit them about 5 days every month, once, and they come and go. And these are gangs, they are people. There's a driver that will park at the entrance to a court, and people will jump out of the car and hit every mailbox on the court. If it's a lockable box, they will break it to get into it. Lockable boxes don't help. So people have to get their mail when it's delivered. It's located almost anywhere where there are mailboxes, but I live on Sageland. If you take the road all the way to Hofstetter, I have found mail in the streets. I delivered a couple of checks myself.
Okay, so I'm sorry. I heard that you just had mailbox like theft issues in the neighborhood. What was that location? Stations of Hofstadter. Okay. Right. Have you contacted the mail company and see? Okay. In regards to the mail theft, did you ever report it? Okay. So we do have the theft unit and identity theft unit. If you want to follow up with them and see where the report is there any surveillance cameras that faces that area? Okay. Okay. After this meeting, we can talk a little bit more about the mail theft, because I would be really interested in seeing that that photo, and I'll address your concern one-on-one. Yes.
Yeah, good evening, officer. I don't want to put you on the spot. A young lady here just asked you about Sierra Road. So I met with Captain Sanchez and Carlos Acosta. They came up. we have no PD visibility up there. It's 95% county, sheriff, CHP, and San Jose. It's rare if you ever see an officer up there at all. I understand there's just shortages. I understand what goes on. And when you talk about mailboxes, they've all been ripped off. And now most of us have lock boxes, but it's been very, very difficult. All we'd like to do, we're very supportive of the PD. We just need some visibility. Because on the weekends, if it's snow or if it's rain or it's a party or it's 4th of July, it's 10,000 cars a weekend. So all we can do is just educate you the best we can. Captain Sanchez says, thank you. We'll try to do the best we can. I know you're short. I know what you all do. I appreciate it. But the visibility for law enforcement up in Sierra Road is very, very diminished. Thank you.
Okay, I will definitely address that. Like I said, I'm normally here about 5 hours before my actual shift, but I will also put that on my list to do extra patrol checks. Oh, and last thing, Captain Sanchez did want me to mention. So there is a program where you can actually register your cameras with us throughout the city. So we don't have access to your cameras, but if it's registered with us and there's a crime that's been committed, or there's a investigation being investigated in regards to a major crime, anything minor or severe, we at least know that you have a camera with us, so we can send you an email, send you a text. Our detectives will follow up with you and say, can you look at this time element and see if you can provide us any footage. I can go over that a little bit later after the meeting, but if you guys would like to register your camera with us, that would be helpful for our department. Our cases are usually solved on surveillance cameras majority of the time. So it's a helpful tool. It's helpful for the department. It's helpful for the detectives. And at least you guys are aware that certain things are happening in your neighborhood. Okay, thank you for your time.
I think we broke her in real well tonight. And from the CHP, Captain Christian Oliver is here. Oops.
Good evening. Thank you for having me back. Let's talk about a couple things. So I want to say thank you to San Jose Police Department. So we had talked about street racing and sideshows. San Jose PD has one of the most aggressive units to address sideshows in the Bay Area, if not California. So their efforts are trying to be emulated by other departments, and we're trying to get officers trained by their unit to address these. So the statistics that they have, the efforts that they've been able to successfully conduct sideshow enforcement is outstanding. And I think they do deserve a round of applause because it is a very, very difficult issue to get a hold of. So thank you very much. With that said, the CHP is trying to team up with the Santa Clara County as far as trying to come up with a task force for these events. And please just know, like Officer Kim said, that we're following social media to try to keep an eye on where these sideshows are happening. They happen like that. The CHP was able to address a potential sideshow a couple weeks ago, and it was through the efforts of support by San Jose PD and the sheriffs. I met with a motorcycle gang. A motorcycle gang said, we're going to have over 1,000 motorcycle riders that are going to be going throughout the Bay, and we're going to be touring. While the initial group had good intentions, we see that sometimes those who are following, not part of that group, have bad intentions. And overall, it was a successful event. I'm glad that they were able to honor their fallen brothers and sisters, but we saw some sideshow activity on the freeway, and you try to do the best you can. That's over 1,000 motorcyclists. So we face that on a weekly basis. I just was in San Francisco with my family last night, and I was driving over the Bay Bridge, and I saw all the donut marks, and I'm thinking, gosh, I know that every officer has this towards the top of their list as far as priorities. They don't want to see neighborhoods getting ruined or chaos taking over. That's why we're there, is to be there. So we're doing what we can. I also want to say thank you to San Jose PD for another incident. So a week ago yesterday, one of our officers was assisting a pedestrian on the freeway when he was struck and hit by a out-of-control vehicle. That out-of-control vehicle then was disabled, and that person ran away. They took foot bail, and our officer and the pedestrian were left on the side of the road. So with San Jose PD's effort, we were able to locate this individual and safely make contact and conduct business as we should. So we have a lot of things going on as police. Sometimes it's seen, sometimes it's unseen, which I hear a lot of the issues that are going on in the Berryessa community. No, they're still recovering, and that's actually our 5th officer in 6 months to get hit outside of their patrol vehicle. So we ask that people, use their eyes, slow down, and drive safely. Let me talk to you about a few things, and I'll take questions. I think Officer Kim did a great job of trying to address many of the concerns. You talked about catalytic converters. Catalytic converters, the numbers haven't changed, but the pockets of where these are happening definitely change. So you put all your attention here, and all of a sudden it pops up. It's a constant shell game of where can we try to find the people that are conducting these thefts. Everybody understand why catalytic converters are being stolen? There's a certain element that is in them that is worth high value, and then that gets sold, and it gets to refineries, and away they go with the money. So I don't think the statistic has changed, but we're always trying to chase that last lead. So, all right. So May was our Motorcycle Safety Awareness Month, and for the San Jose, CHP San Jose area, we had 0 motorcycle crashes, which is great. We look to aggressively enforce the law in regards to unsafe motorcyclists and unsafe drivers who are potentially hurting motorcyclists. It's an even street. Everybody's out there for everybody's safety. So we had 0 motorcycle crashes, and we take that as a positive. The CHP San Jose was just involved in a click it or ticket campaign. So who wears their seatbelt when they're driving? Everybody raise your hand. Okay. So seatbelts still are the number 3 way. Not wearing your seatbelt is still considered the number 3 way to die in a crash. Unfortunately, 40% of fatal crashes, a person is not seatbelted. So we went out and aggressively enforced, whether we gave verbal warnings or issued citations. And I think we're number 2 in the Bay Area as far as that campaign. We're out there trying to save lives. We recently had a maximum enforcement period, so the community asked, where are all the cops? Well, we put out 85% of all available officers on the road during Memorial Day, and we were number 2 in the state for the CHP as far as enforcement. This past weekend, we had a highway violence task force where we're looking to reduce the number of highway violence that happens on our highways. How many freeway shootings have people heard about recently? How many people getting into arguments on the freeway? We're looking to reduce that. So we had a very aggressive enforcement campaign this last weekend. So those are some of the things that we're looking to accomplish and things that we have accomplished. Since we just had an officer that was hit out with a pedestrian on a freeway, let me talk real quick. We've had over 20 deaths in the CHP jurisdiction just this year. Way too many. All of them are too many. And what we found is that many of these were due to maybe some safety tips that you should be aware of. So we had a triple fatality a few weeks ago. Anybody remember that one? Okay, so initially 2-3 cars were hit on the freeway, and they were safe. And it looks like maybe they got out of their cars to assess damage, look at, see what they could do, and then they were hit, and 3 people died as a result of that. So what we ask is, when you're in a crash, if there's no safe place to drive your vehicle off to, as crazy as it sounds, stay in your car with your seatbelt on, call 911. It's the best thing you can do. Will you get crashed into? Potentially, but it's better than being out on the road where you're exposed to everything. So many times we take fender benders all the time, and people go, my car doesn't work. And no, get in your car and drive it off. Yeah, it has a flat tire, but you can make it off. Drive that car off as safely as possible and think, I need to save my life for my family and my friends. So please be safe when you're out on the road. Hopefully you're calling 911 when you see incidents that need our response. And then lastly, with summer here, we have a lot of teen drivers coming up to Vista Points and all that kind of stuff. So we have several programs for teenagers, young drivers, but summer is not the time to go test the metal and drive around in neighborhoods. So we ask that if you have teenage drivers to really sit down with them and really kind of emphasize the importance of driving safely. And hopefully that starts them off into becoming a responsible and safe driver throughout their career, throughout their life. So I'll talk real quickly about the efforts that we've had in this community. So last month we were able to conduct 100 enforcement stops just in the Berryessa community off the freeway. So we have an officer that has been part of his duties are to patrol this area. So you should be seeing him on the weekends. You should be seeing him in the afternoon. I know that his efforts have been there because I'm looking at what he does on a weekly basis. So hopefully you have some positive, like, oh, we've seen the CHP more, which is a positive step. Do we have areas to grow? Absolutely. But I'm trying to really increase our efforts as far as our responsibilities off the freeway. So with that, I'll go ahead and take any questions. If you can speak into the microphone, that would be great, because I'd love to hear your questions or your positive comments.
Hi.
Hi.
So I live up on Upper Sierra Road. What efforts are going to be taking place for 4th of July weekend?
Efforts. We are working with the sheriff and the police department in regards to making sure that we have a visible presence. But are you talking about closing down roads?
Yes.
Yes, that's usually spearheaded by San Jose Police Department, and we look to assist them with that with personnel. So specifically, our operational plans. I believe we are following in what we've done in the past in regards to having certain roads closed, but what those are offhand, I think it's going to stick to the normal plan.
Okay, normal is that it'll be closed due to high fire danger and all the traffic that comes up and causes gridlock, fireworks, and danger to the community because we can't get out. It's total gridlock, as in the past. Also, one other question. Are you regularly coming up and patrolling Upper Sierra Road on a regular basis?
As far as I know, the officer that I have specifically dedicated to that area is spending a third of his time in the Berryessa community. And now whether he goes to Upper Sierra Road or here, he's been told you need to go to the community, and that is more than just Upper Sierra Road.
Do they come up after like midnight? Sorry, my allergies, my throat is not going out.
The officer that I have assigned is not working past midnight, no, but we are trying to address the sunset issues, and I think we've had a greater success. So we've made arrests, we've issued citations for littering, parking, drinking on premises, loitering, like we've definitely issued a slew of citations, and I believe that it has a positive effect. If not, when they see the highway patrol come up, that is usually the cue for them to leave.
Okay, thank you. We have just one more thing. So we have a whole group, and I think I've sent you the list. We have the Race to the Sunset, the race after, then we have the group that comes up at about 11:30 and is up to there till about 4 in the morning.
Okay.
That's the group that starts the fires, that steals the car. In fact, there was a stolen car on Skyview just this last week that we had to call in. They left it there in the middle of the night, and I heard them screaming down the road. So.
Was this the one from 2 months ago?
No, just recent,
Okay,
last week.
okay.
Thank you
Yep.
for all you do.
Yeah. And I apologize, I don't know everything that happens in the community. As I said, we go from south of Fremont to 85 to over Highway 17 to Highway 9. So knowing specifically what we do, some things pop up like a triple fatality, like an officer getting hit, and then, but I am looking through officers' work like, hey, where's our work in Berryessa? So, what other questions or comments do you have? Yes.
If and when you do found one of the catalytic converter thieves,
Yes.
typically what would happen to them?
Well, they're arrested for that specific crime, but an investigation is then passed on to our investigative services unit, which is looking at an overarching, is this person connected with any of the others? And so it goes into a greater investigation. So I think somebody had asked about, hey, whatever happened to that person who had their car stolen and the kids ran away and the car was crashed? It's an ongoing investigation. So that one wouldn't be a hit and run investigation where we hope to catch whoever did that, and it takes until we have that proper information to close that case. Same thing with catalytic converter. So we're gonna go ahead and arrest them for the crime that was done right then, but we are also adding them to a potential larger investigation that they could be tied to. So hopefully that answers your question. Probably back on the street, but their identity is known. When officers then make contact, they are able to pull up their information, going, okay, you're so and so, and this should be on our radar. So, yeah. All right. Any other questions? Okay. Thank you.
Way up here. What was that? Oh, we're being attacked. Not ready yet. I'm going to have, if we have reports from elected officials, I'm going to have Senator David Cortez's Representative Estefani come up because I think she has to leave pretty quick. So.
Hello, everyone. Good evening. I'm Stephanie. I'm here from the office of Senator Dave Cortese. And I want to make sure we're staying on track in terms of time, so I'm going to make this announcement real quick. Our office is having our first in-person town hall June 24th at Mount Pleasant High School. This is, we'll be having Congresswoman Zoe Lofgren as our special guest, and you'll also get to hear from both state and federal representatives about their legislation priorities. So if you guys would like to join us, it's at Mount Pleasant, June 24th. We also have flyers out at the front table, and I also have a couple here with me in case anyone's interested. I can just go ahead and pass around a few flyers after my announcements are over. We also have our health fair and wellness walk at Eastridge Center or Eastridge Mall. This will be June 30th, Friday, June 30th at 8 to 11 a.m. So super early. If any of you guys are interested in joining that, that'd be really great. We'll also have Sylvia Arena, Supervisor Sylvia Arenas, and a few of our San Jose Council members and Congressman Jimmy Panetta. So it's a great opportunity for you to get in touch or come up to a few of our elected officials while you also take care of your health and wellness. So if you guys have any questions, let me know. Otherwise, we can head into our next speaker.
There are flyers out there on the table if you didn't get one when you first came in. So they're out there now still. So you'll get that a little better. Assembly Member Alex Lee, Tim Orozco. I know.
That's crazy. Hello, everybody. My name is Tim. I'm with Assemblymember Alex Lee's office. First off, I want to introduce our newest staffer, Jo Wynn. Let's all give her a hand. She just started last week. Be kind to her, Dick Santos and others. She's going to do a fine job. They's going to do a fine job. And when I'm not available here, Jo will step in. I'm sure about that. Just a couple of things. We had a great senior Scam Stopper event this past Friday at the Milpitas Community Center. 175 people showed up. It's amazing. Everyone's doing things in person again. I love it. So they learned a lot of things about scams, how to avoid those scams. And you can too if you go to our website. So go to Assemblymember Alex Lee's website. The video is there of the 2-hour presentation. I guarantee it's worth it. There's a lot of tips and advice. We had the DA's office there and 3 state departments as well. So that's one. We're having happy Pride, everybody. Alex Lee, the Assemblyman, and staff are planning a Pride Month celebration event at the Community District downtown on Post Street on June 22nd. And we're gonna honor a couple of Berryessa Union School District folks. One is a GSA, the GSA president at Piedmont Middle School. She's an 8th grader, and she's gonna be honored, Sophia Blaylock. And then the other person is an assistant superintendent of education services, Mr. Dr. Joe McCrary, correct? I'm looking at the superintendent. So those two will be honored at our Pride Month celebration. On June 15th, the state legislature has to pass a budget. If they don't pass a budget, remember a long time ago, we passed a proposition and said, you don't get paid if you don't pass a budget. So the legislators will not get paid if they don't pass a budget by June 15th, which is just a few days away. So we have a $306 billion budget. You've heard about a $32 billion shortfall. The state does anticipate $42 billion in October of revenue. But again, there's the key investments will be there, investments in housing and homelessness, education, and public safety. So there will be those investments are not going to be cut. Maybe public transportation, transit agencies, unfortunately, may take a hit. And so anyway, look, I'll give you more specifics on the budget when we come back after the break. And then just a couple of bills. The Assembly member is working on a daylighting bill. I've never heard of that term before, daylighting. But what the bill is going to do is going to prohibit parking within 20 feet of a crosswalk or intersection so that there's more visibility so pedestrians and bicyclists won't get hit, right? So this will help with our city's Vision Zero plans. So that is AB 413, daylighting to improve public safety. We have a student aid commission. This is a no-brainer. I think all the legislators voted for it, to add 2 additional student representatives on the California Aid Commission. So we will have a total of, with this bill, a total of 4 student reps. There are 15 representatives on the California Aid Commission appointed by the governor, the pro tem, and the speaker. And then our big social housing bill. This is big. The bill will establish an agency to produce and preserve social housing in California. And social housing is publicly backed and owned housing that accommodates a mix of household incomes. So it's not like the old days. Some of you remember, the projects. I hate saying that word, but back in those old days, and it was geared towards low income. This will be a range of incomes to prevent these areas to occur. I don't want to use the word, but anyway, so but it's just another tool to address affordable housing. So social housing, look forward to that. Okay, with that, I will hand it over So Linda, thank you all.
See, Tim looks at me when he says Piedmont Middle, because we're from Piedmont Middle. All right, thanks, Tim. Councilman David Cohen's office is here. There you are. Thank you, sir.
Hi, everyone. Wanted to touch base on a couple of things. Let's go with the practical things first. Thank you to both Sharon and Dick Santos, Director Santos, for calling some attention to some much needed things in the district that after much scrutiny, we were able to determine things like, for example, the weed abatement schedule for both Berryessa and Alviso has been out of whack for about 2.5 years. And we were finally able to figure out why and redraw some of those routes in order to get those abatements to happen both faster and more consistently from the Parks Department. We're also getting tree plantings all over the district. Starting in fall again, we're working with our city forest and the new city arborist to do plantings pretty much all over our district. We're still on track to do our plant 1,000 trees in 1,000 days thing. So we're about a third of the way there, so we're going to kick it into high gear this fall and plant a bunch of trees in the district. On the subject of parks, there are quite a few parks, one of which is Alviso Park, obviously, that require a lot of care and attention because they haven't in quite some time, in some cases many years. So we are working with our teams at the Parks Department to take long and hard evaluations as to the things that are missing in the parks and building them out, as well as starting construction on some parks that have been promised to the city for quite some time. One of those is the Mercado Brazzoni Park. Happy to announce that we finally have the dedications and entitlements for those as of tomorrow, which means those parks will begin construction by the end of this year and be done by next summer. So those parks will be fully funded and fully built in the very near future. On the topic of weed abatements too as well, because our PRNS department and our DOT is kind of shifting a little bit in its organizational structure, if you guys see places where weed abatements need to happen and they haven't been in quite some time, please send them our way so we can put them on the maps while we have the attention of the folks over at the Department of Transportation. We're also going to continue our street safety initiatives. We've done quite a few mitigations for things like sideshows. So, you know, the progress on those things is always typically kind of slow, but we are making improvements and it looks like the number is steadily decreasing in our district. We still know of some hot spots, but you guys know how that works. Every time we snuff it out somewhere, it kind of finds its own natural path to another place in our district. So it's like playing whack-a-mole. But our intention is we'll outlast them, which means if we play whack-a-mole enough, then we deter them enough to not want to come back here because it's too much of a pain to get in trouble by SJPD for that. So it looks like, you know, as we continue to make progress, it's kind of a little forward, a little back, a little forward, a little back, a little forward, a little back until one day it just becomes too much of an issue for them to do that. We're also continuing our street safety stuff too as well. There are quite a few streets in the district that we're looking to do improvements for speed mitigation, for traffic mitigation. We are also looking into the expanding of the King Road area up there by the bridge as well, as Sharon knows. So we're working on that with the city and kind of pushing that as hard as we can. We also have National Night Out coming up, and we're looking to do quite a few activations in the district for that. So, you know, if you're not subscribed to our newsletter, please do so. We'll be telling you when and where, and we're going to fund some community outreach parties and get to know SGPED, and the folks over at the fire department will be participating as well. On to the more specific things, we did have some budget documents that we put in specifically for the district. One is a permanent ADA ramp that we're looking to build here at the community center. I'm sure for any of you that have lived here for any length of time, it is bizarre that there's only one way into this park. And we thought that was kind of ridiculous. We discovered that by having access issues to the Berryessa Art Festival, which if any of you attended, thank you for coming out. It was a great event. But it did show some glaring weaknesses in a couple of things. Number one was our maintenance schedule on our D4 parks. Our parks have a tendency, because of where they're geographically located, to kind of spring up and grow a little bit faster than some of the other parks, so we have to modify that maintenance schedule. But also the ramp. So we are going to be putting in an ADA ramp on this side of the community center, both for access into the park itself, this side, as well as up into the community center. So we'll be working on that. There's also the senior nutrition program up in El Viso, which for some reason during COVID, they stopped over at the PRNS folks. So we are going to restart that as well, and kind of build in that level of access for the community center as well as the senior nutrition program. We're also going to be starting a city initiative to do commingled trash. We have a fantastic recycling program, and the commingled trash will actually allow us to be able to sort recycling a lot better and sort out a lot of the recyclables from the trash itself, kind of just to make it easier on residents and trying to figure out what's recyclable and what's not, because I'm sure all of you have had that same experience, standing in front of a blue bin and a green bin and trying to figure out what goes into what. Well, now you don't have to figure that out anymore. Just throw it all into one place and we'll take care of it. The next was we were also taking care of funding for dog waste disposal bags. I know that seems like a minor thing, but it's a major thing to us. Walking around your parks and finding a tremendous amount of dog poop is not great. And so providing both bags and receptacles, as well as a maintenance schedule for our parks in order to take care of that, seems like a logical thing for us. So we're going to try that out in 4 of the major parks here in the district. We also have some pickleball coming up for anybody who lives by Catoldi. That's coming up real soon. So we're going to be building that, as well as the long-awaited dog park, because strangely, District 4 is the only district that doesn't have a usable dog park, which is bizarre. As a District 4 resident, I didn't know that, so I'm happy to know that we are going to be providing that. Also, we are working very closely with the mayor's office on, as I'm sure you've all heard in some fashion, the San Jose budget. And we are working very closely with that office to figure out the proper solution that helps to mitigate a lot of the unhoused in our area, as well as build affordable housing. So our relationship with the mayor's office is allowing us to make some meaningful change in that direction. And even today, we were at a 3-hour-long meeting with the mayor's office to kind of figure out how the budget's going to work for that. Along those lines, too, we worked with a couple of other council offices to work on being able to enforce no parking on the streets, figuring out ways to deal with that issue. Some of this issue hits harder for some of you, like Director Santos, for example. In El Viso, one of the problems is the enforcement mechanism, as I'm sure many of you have been frustrated by cars that have been on your streets. They get cited and they just stay there and nothing happens to them. That was a problem that we wanted the folks at the city to take a long, hard look at and to determine whether or not there was a reasonable enforcement mechanism that would allow residents to get a little reprieve from that. So, thank you to the folks that, for better or for worse, the case study is El Viso, and we've been using that as kind of the example for the worst case scenario and how we can fix that situation and have practical solutions for being able to enforce those issues. So that's what I've got from the council office. If anybody has any questions, I'm here. You can ask me now, or you can find me. Okay. Okay, sorry about that. All right, thank you, everybody.
Thanks for all that information. He'll be here later, so if you want to talk to him about that. Santa Clara Valley Water District, Richard Santos. You have to talk fast. What happened to your arm? I just realized you have a sling on there. Wow. Too much cherry picking.
Good evening, I'm Richard Santos, your director of Santa Clara Valley Water District. I had a shoulder reconstruction, so they call me the Bionic Man. Titanium, took it out, put a new one in. I'm in pain, so I'm not grouchy, so just hang in there. First of all, to Lam Nguyen, I want to thank him for the services he gives to Berryessa, of course, includes El Viso. He answers the phone and tries to get things done. That's always nice. There's a whole bunch of issues going on, and I appreciate everybody being here. The young lady was talking about the PD. I don't want to sit here and milk the issue. We're all supportive of our PD. Those hills are ablaze. It's the worst vegetation we've had in years. We had a beautiful rain, more water than we ever had in a long time. But now it's dry grass, very serious issues up there. And we need PD and our fire department to patrol those areas, because 95% again is all county. Go back to water conservation, the water resources has been kind. We have 100% water allocations. But if you know the history of California, we're in an arid condition. You're going to go back to droughts again. That's the pattern. If you go back to history, there's been 10 and 20-year droughts. We don't want those things to happen, so we're doing everything we can. The water conservation program's there. We have rebates. We're better than the post office. We come on Sundays. We deliver. You want a free inspection? Call the water district. We'll be there to make sure that you can conserve water. I got mine. Let's make the future. Let's make sure our grandchildren and great-grandchildren have water. Today I met with Mountain View in Palo Alto and East Palo Alto. Their council is wonderful. They're very aggressive in working with us on a $1.2 billion purification plant to be in Palo Alto. San Jose's been lagging. Our new mayor, I met with him. I knew him before and I know him now. I really applaud him. I think he's going to be very aggressive. He appointed David Cohen and of course Council Member Ortiz to the recycling, that the city of San Jose has been not aggressive for the last 4 years. I really believe we have a better future, and I'm looking forward, because purification water does those kind of things, protects us from the impacts of climate change, creates new drought resilient and locally controlled water supply, reduces the dependency on imported water, and protects our region's groundwater supplies. We're a partnership with Los Vaqueros up in Contra Costa. It's going to cost you all of us about $1.2 million. There's like 8 partners, but that's a source of water that we'll have for the rest of our lives. Those are the kind of things we have to do, completely invest in our infrastructure. So in Mountain View and Palo Alto, the council will review this $1.2 billion plant, purification plant, so we can reduce the water consumption and recharge. And right now, I think we're just about a year away from being able to drink purified water. It's actually available now, but because of the regulatory agencies and all the bureaucracy, it continues to grow, but not us. That's one of the problems. Also, there's called BF Dam up next to St. Louis Reservoir. We're in a partnership with there. It's about $1.6 million investment, and that raises the dam 10 feet, but it also brings in 130 acre feet to St. Louis Reservoir, which we're part of. So our future looks good, and we're going to continue doing that. And people will always complain about cost, but just think if you don't have water, don't go there. Other than that, I'm always available anytime. People, send me emails. I'm an early guy. I'm up at 5:30. I'm out. Call me on the phone anytime you want. You pay for my phone. You call me. I'll give you an answer in 5 minutes. So anytime I'm available, call me. I love serving what we do, and the future looks bright. We just got to keep working. Thank you.
Okay, thank you for all that information. And we do have 2 guest speakers. We're going to run a little late, but this Berryessa School District Superintendent is here, Dr. Roxanne Fuentes. Talk fast.
I will. The good news is school is out. So last week was our last week of school. We're very excited to promote 655 8th graders off to high school. And so we're happy to support their academic career in Berryessa. Also during this time, we are accepting registrations for new students. The one grade level I'd like to highlight is transitional kindergarten. We expanded the birth date eligibility for next school year, so it's students September 2nd through June 2nd that turn 4 that are welcome to be part of that program. We're glad to see our community is taking advantage of that early entry opportunity. We've already added 2 additional classes at school sites for next year, and we'd really like to be able to offer at least 1 TK class at every elementary school to make it more accessible for our families. So looking forward to that. Also, this last week, we promoted our first fifth grade Mandarin dual immersion cohort of students. We have been able to successfully hire a sixth grade Mandarin teacher. So next year, we're also expanding our Mandarin dual immersion program, which will be held at Sierramont Middle School. So there's another opportunity for students to join something new there. So again, just want to thank you for all of your support. This week is a down week in the district, but all of our summer programs start up next week on Monday. Every year, we've been expanding our summer offerings as much as possible. So next year, out of the 13 schools, we have programs being offered at 7 school sites. So you'll still see activity in your neighborhoods. Sierramont Middle School will be our host middle school for summer programs. We're doing construction over at Piedmont, building that new gym that we were awarded the $10 million state grant. We hope to open that in the fall for our students. But please, if you see anything, unusual in the neighborhoods, let us know. We have been working closely with San Jose PD because we know during summertime when our district facilities and school sites are less busy, there tends to be incidents. So if you see anything unusual, don't hesitate to give our district office a phone call so we can reach out to San Jose PD for their support in that too. So thank you very much for your partnership.
Thank you, Dr. Fuentes. And I was going to do the flea market next, but it's already set up for the open space. So we'll have the open space come up now. So Mike Flower, you want to introduce your program? And then that way the flea market will be set to go because everything will be set up for you.
So one of the questions I want to ask everybody, how many people have heard of the open space? Okay. How many people have been out on one of our preserves? Not bad. So tonight we want to give you a little presentation of what open space is, where we are, what we're doing, and I've asked Mark Landgraf to come today. He is our External Affairs Manager for Open Space, and he will give you a presentation to let you know what we do and where we are. Mark.
Thanks, Mike and Linda, and great to be back. Thank you for having me tonight. I'm going to go through the background of the Open Space Authority for those of you who aren't familiar with us. For those of you who have seen this before, please hang tight, but we'll get to the updates, the new stuff and the exciting stuff. As you can see here, the Open Space Authority is 30 years old this year. We're celebrating our 30th anniversary. We were created by the state legislature 30 years ago to protect natural resources, to connect people to nature, and to protect agriculture in the region. So that's what we do. Let me pull this up here so it's a little bit easier. Uh-oh. Did I pull it out? There we go. So this is a map of our active areas within our jurisdiction. Our jurisdiction overall includes the city of San Jose, Milpitas, Santa Clara, Campbell, Morgan Hill, and then everything that's unincorporated in the county. Of course, of greatest interest here is Sierra Vista Open Space Preserve adjacent to Alum Rock Park. Very, very popular. I know there were questions about Sierra Road and Sierra Vista Open Space. I'll get to those, a little bit of an update on those in a moment. But we do have other preserves, most of those further south, and I'll talk a little bit more about Coyote Valley. That's a place of special significance that we are working hard to do some public master planning for. So really what we do is care for water, wildlife, and working lands. The watersheds, we work very closely with Valley Water, so I appreciated Director Santos's comments earlier. We work with Valley Water to both protect the water and assist with groundwater recharge by protecting lands where that water can sink into the ground to help provide some drought resilience. And then we also protect those lands so that during major storm events, like we saw with the atmospheric rivers this winter, that those lands can reduce the amount of water going downstream and the flow rate so that the flooding is less severe. With climate change, we're going to see more severe storm events. And what is going on in places like Coyote Valley or some of the other watershed lands we protect is that they slow the flow of water to reduce the risk of flooding. We still need the hard infrastructure that Valley Water so diligently builds and maintains, but we need everything we can get. And so just this last winter, Coyote Creek came within a foot of flood stage down in the Edenvale area. And had Coyote Valley not been there to absorb some of those floodwaters, it very well could have gone to flood stage. So we want to do what we can and do our part to provide climate resilience. So once we protect land, we do that through purchase from willing sellers. We also steward those lands. We help nature help us by reducing fuel loads on those lands so that there's less risk of wildfire, primarily through grazing, but also through manual means of reducing fuel loads. And we work with partners to do research on other ways to provide greater climate resilience. A little bit more on that later, but I wanted to go on here. We also do a lot of work to engage the communities in our area. So we have volunteer opportunities for things like trail patrol, for building and maintaining our trails, for providing docent-led tours. And if you haven't picked one up yet, there are brochures out on the front desk as you're leaving that explain how you can engage with us on those volunteer activities. We also have an urban grant program. I'll talk a little bit more about an update for that later. We have some exciting news on awards that just happened recently, but it's a very active program, and we have assisted a lot of the cities in our jurisdiction, as well as nonprofits, schools, the county itself, on providing access to nature throughout our jurisdiction. And then we do our own environmental education and community outreach as well. We have a team of volunteers, aides, and staff that provide education programs at schools, libraries, some here very locally in the Berryessa area over the years, that provide kids with additional connections to nature than what are provided in schools. We do a lot of science-based research. As I mentioned, we work with partners, both scientific and community-based, that help us understand the world around us and how it affects our communities, how we can protect nature in ways that help bring more climate resilience, but also bring us healthier lives and more richness to our lives through opportunities to get out in nature. And as Director Flauher had asked earlier, sounds like a lot of people here have enjoyed some of the trails out at our preserves. So really appreciate that. And we want to open up more preserves over time as well so that there's more access available. So I was talking earlier about some of those climate resilience activities that we do to reduce the risk of wildfire and flood and drought. We also have our preserves open for those times when there, the pandemic that happened in 2020, the trails offered a refuge for people to be outdoors in a safe place, be away from other people where they weren't fearful of communicating disease, and could breathe a little bit of fresh air, both literally and figuratively, so that they would have a little bit more opportunity to just recharge their batteries and recover. And even when there's not a pandemic at its peak, we still need that in our lives. We still need an escape from the hectic lives and all of the issues we have to deal with day to day. And so, I mean, just look outside. It's so calming looking out into nature, and we do our best to offer those opportunities to the public 365 days a year. I mentioned our urban grant program. Over time, since the program was begun, thanks to Measure Q that passed in 2014 with a modest parcel tax, we've been able to award $13 million to community-based organizations and schools and cities in the county. Just this last round, last month in May, $910,000 was awarded to 13 different organizations. So they can then go ahead and develop environmental education programs to serve their individual communities. There is another round of awards being considered, and those will be awarded in July by our board of directors, and those are capital projects. So those are things like creek restoration projects, trails, especially in the urban areas, community gardens, urban farming, all sorts of really creative projects like that that serve communities. This map shows some of the local areas here along Penitentiary Creek corridor that provided benefits to the local community through our urban grant program. One I want to point out here is the Juntos initiative. That was led by the Santa Clara County Department of Public Health, and we're really proud of the work that they've done to bring kids from the communities across the county to enjoy nature and build really life skills and development skills that they otherwise would not have access to. It's been a great ongoing program. Coyote Valley, I mentioned earlier, at the southern end of San Jose, is both within the San Jose city limits and within the unincorporated part of the county. It's about 7,400 acres of farmland and small pockets of development, but it's a vast floodplain upstream of downtown San Jose. Coyote Creek flows through at the bottom part of the screen here, where, just for orientation, the Diablo Mountains are here at the bottom of the screen, so like Mount Hamilton. The Santa Cruz Mountains are at the top, and then if you were to look further there, that would be Monterey Bay. And then to the right, that's north, and so that would be urban San Jose and then other communities in Silicon Valley. And so this is a landscape at the foot of the urban San Jose area that we now have protected 1,500 acres in. We, meaning the Open Space Authority, and with our partners, the City of San Jose and the Peninsula Open Space Trust. And so now we're beginning a master planning process and would love to see any and all of you involved in that public process to inform what we do there. How do we balance wildlife protection and the important wildlife corridor that moves through Coyote Valley with public access and protection of agricultural operations there and the important water resources? There's a natural wetland there that we think deserves expansion of, but we want to make sure that people are able to go on trails in the area as well. How do we bring transit there so that people don't necessarily have to get in their cars to drive out there, that they have other means of arriving at Coyote Valley and enjoying it? How do we bring agritourism to the area so that people can learn where their food comes from, especially young folks in urban areas that often don't know how all of that works. So many really exciting opportunities that we want to see play out. And we invite you all to join us. And I'll give some information later, but you can also go to our website, openspaceauthority.org, and sign up there for information about how to get engaged. This map shows those 1,500 acres of protected lands, and otherwise it's pretty much the same map, but those are the lands that we're talking about in our master planning that I was mentioning earlier. The timeline for our master planning is, you can see we're just in the beginning stages here in 2023, but there will be workshops and another survey here later this year. And so those public workshops are one great opportunity to come and voice your interest and your concerns, your whatever you would like to provide as for us to consider as we do that planning. I did mention agritourism, you know, a very active location in Coyote Valley. If you've been down there during the fall, is Spina Farms. They've been there for decades. And last year they lost their lease on the land that they had been using. And so we set them up on property that we acquired in Coyote Valley on a 60-acre piece so they could continue their operation. They see something like 100,000 people from, you know, mostly the local area that enjoy you know, picking pumpkins, flowers. They have a fruit stand there. They have hay rides, all sorts of activities for kids. And during the week, it's free. You can go and enjoy it without even any cost to park and enjoy the surroundings. So that's the kind of thing that we would love to see more of in Coyote Valley. I mentioned public access and trails. We've got a big event coming up this October to open Mayan Oyakma Coyote Ridge Open Space Preserve. So traditionally, we had called this Coyote Ridge, but our board recently renamed this to Mayan Oyakma Coyote Ridge. Mayan Oyakma is the Chochenyo translation of Coyote Ridge, and Chochenyo is the language that the Muwekma Ohlone speak. They are an important tribal partner of ours, and they're working with us to provide interpretation and history and stewardship skills for what we're doing at Coyote Ridge. On October 14th, we're going to have a public day for opening the preserve, where we'll have booths with information about all of the different activities and the habitat that we're preserving there. And so we would invite you to come out with your families, and we'll have transportation from Gavilan College, which is there in the northern part of Coyote Valley, to bring you up to the new staging area and the new trails that are being hand-built throughout the preserve. So Sierra Vista and Sierra Road. I just want to give a quick update, and then I'll take questions, of course, afterwards as well. And if I can't answer questions, I'll do my best to get the answers for you afterwards. But I know there were questions, especially about Sierra Road. So for July 4th, I know that as we've done in previous years, we coordinate very closely with San Jose PD and with the county sheriff, because as was mentioned, it's both county and city jurisdiction, to close the road after 4 o'clock so that because there is a lot of fire danger and activities get quickly out of hand on July 4th, unfortunately. So that is the plan for that area on July 4th. And in general, we still every day coordinate closely with law enforcement, because we have no law enforcement authority ourselves, but so that that people can recreate and travel safely there. We are replacing the delineators that were taken out. I don't know if that was through vandalism or accident, but so that people can't park on the road and prevents unlawful and dangerous parking. And then just generally coordinating, because even after hours, the gates are closed, people come into the parking lot sometimes and do activities that are not safe up there. So we're on it as much as we possibly can be. I also wanted to mention that because of the torrential rains this winter, we do have one trail closed, the Calaveras Fault Trail, because the Moore Bridge, it was a pedestrian bridge that was also sometimes used by vehicles, that has been washed out. And so until further notice, that trail is closed. We know Alum Rock Park was closed for a while and it's reopened, but with parking only at the bottom. They're still trying to repair the road so that they can allow full vehicular access into the park. And right now, my understanding is they only allow pedestrian and bicycle access into the park from the lower parking lot. So we stay closely coordinated with ranger staff at Alum Rock as well. So I did mention earlier that there are a number of ways to get involved. you can volunteer, you can participate in those stewardship activities. There are a lot of events that are available on our website that are docent-led tours, kids activities, education programs, etc. And then the master planning for Coyote Valley is a very big effort of ours coming up. Of course, we have ongoing public meetings with our board of directors, our citizens advisory committee meetings, and those are all posted on our website as well. So with that, once again, thank you very much for your attention and for having me here. And then I'm happy to take any questions. The marshlands at the edge of the bay? Yeah. That is not our, that is not our jurisdiction. That, I don't know if that's Don Edwards National Wildlife Refuge or.
It's like a big old bike trail, and there was a section broken up by Moffett that I thought they were eventually gonna open up.
Okay.
But now you still gotta like exit, go through Mountain View, the Bay Trail.
The Bay Trail, okay.
You're going around the shoreline of the bay, reaching also on the ridge. Including Diana and Yakima, that's going to be a section.
Hi, I have just a quick question. I wanted to thank you for the sign that you put at the bottom of Upper Sierra Road that lists the times it's open, the times it's closed, and the no parking. Thank you, it's much appreciated. Also the cameras and the lights that you have there and the deterrence that you have tried to make and working with law enforcement. We thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. Thank you very much.
And in fact, 2 meetings ago, I was talking to the CHP officer. We're going to do this, you know.
All right. If there are no other questions, then thank you very much.
Thank you. I'll read the announcement. What do you need?
I thought, yeah, sure. Let's just. Yeah.
So I'll read the announcements while they're getting set up here. Do I have to use this? So our next general meeting is September 11th. We do have a board meeting next Monday, but I think it'll be at my house. August 26th, we're having our special event, our BCAC 50th anniversary celebration. So you'll get more information about that in another week or so. All right? Are you ready? Just talking to the mic.
Evening, everybody. My name is Alec Atienza. I am a planner on the Planning Development Review team with the city's planning department, and I'm joined by my colleague Adolfo Ruelas from the Office of Economic Development, as well as the applicant's representative, Eric Schoenauer, sitting in the front here. So I'm here tonight to talk about an update on the Berryessa Flea Market redevelopment project. So I'm just going to give you guys some quick background on the project itself and then go over where we're at currently in the review process. So just as a bit of quick background, so we all understand the context of this site, it's the existing and operating Berryessa Flea Market located at 1590 Berryessa Road. It's an approximately 61-acre site. As you know, it currently exists as the flea market as well as surface parking. It's directly to the west of the existing BART site. So as part of the redevelopment of the site, the general plan designations were updated back in 2021. So with that, the general plan as well as the larger area were updated to include new land uses for the surrounding site as well as the flea market site itself. And those new land uses are transit employment center, transit residential, and open space. And so I'm going to give you guys a couple more slides so you can kind of orient yourself and see whereabouts that's going to go. So this is a view of the larger area surrounding the flea market site. Step away. This is the flea market site here, if you guys can see. With part of the larger Berryessa BART urban village plan that was created, this includes the area entirely around the BART site. So you can see to the north, that's the existing townhouses as well as Safeway. There we go, thanks Adolfo. And then the new apartment buildings that were built along Berryessa Road, as well as the other side of the railroad tracks. Tonight, specifically, we're just going to talk about the flea market site. But ultimately, the goal of this entire area, this urban village that we're calling it surrounding the BART, is to increase connectivity and accessibility, foster alternative forms of transportation, specifically utilizing the BART station, environmental, social, and economic sustainability, open space enhancement and protection, and the creation of a mixed-use, mixed-income community. So to set the stage a little bit further for this site, the flea market site, back in June of 2021, the City Council approved a rezoning of the site. And what you need to understand about a rezoning is that it's not actually approving any construction. What it's doing is setting the table for future development. So it's setting the allowed land uses, setting the site layout. So this slide here shows you the land uses that are proposed for specifically the flea market site. So north is actually facing left here. As you can see in the middle, there is a plan for a public market. Any of the items you see in yellow there will be residential. And then any of the land uses that you see in blue will be commercial. There's also some parking in gray there surrounding the BART site. So in terms of the development review process, this is a key slide to understanding how this process is going to play out over the course of the redevelopment of the flea market site. So it's not intended that the flea market will be developed all at once. It's going to occur over many years, over multiple phases. And this slide here is to explain basically how that's going to play out. So what will happen is the owner will submit a development application for a specific parcel in the flea market site. The city, the planning department, the Department of Public Works, Department of Transportation, all the city departments will review that application. We're going to review it for consistency with policies and consistency with environmental review, specifically CEQA, if you guys have heard of the California Environmental Quality Act. Us, the city, will be conducting outreach on each application that we come across. So anytime a developer submits an application, we're going to be holding community meetings for each of those buildings that they're potentially constructing. The city will then take action on those applications, and that'll occur at a director's hearing or potentially a planning commission meeting. And then the applicant will apply for building permits. At that point, they'll be able to actually construct the building. So to understand sort of how that process is going right now, I'm going to explain the two permits that are under review currently. So right now, the City Planning Division, we're reviewing a planned development permit and a tentative map. And a tentative map, key to understanding that is the word tentative. So the tentative map, I'm going to explain first, is what establishes the lots for the property. It doesn't formally subdivide anything. What it does is it basically sets the stage for what each lot will be in the area. So right now, the applicant is proposing to subdivide the existing flea market site, which is 7 lots, into 19 separate lots. And that will enable the applicant to actually sell off each lot and then develop it. With that, they would propose 10 commercial condominiums. So that means people would be able to purchase portions of commercial buildings and also subdivide into up to 3,400 residential units. So that means residential condominiums, people would be able to purchase actual condos. The next permit that's under review currently is a planned development permit. And what I want to understand, everybody to understand, is that this planned development permit does not actually permit any new construction. So this permit establishes the site layout, including those development blocks that I described in that map, public and private streets that will be constructed through the flea market site, any trails specifically along the creeks, grading and drainage, and then any site utilities. So think storm drains, sewer lines, power lines. So here I actually have the site plan that we're reviewing currently. It's similar to what you saw earlier on that zoning map. I can actually go back. As you can see, this was what was approved with the zoning, and this is what we're currently reviewing. So again, there is no development, no construction associated with this development permit. It's only establishing the site layout. So it's really important to understand. And again, with that, once they establish the site layout, once they subdivide the site, then they will actually be able to come back in and construct individual buildings on each of those sites. So again, just some notes about that application. No demolition of any existing structures currently on file right now. And the site plan that they are proposing is consistent with that approved zoning that I had just shown earlier. With regards to the environmental review of this process, so there was an environmental impact report that was prepared for that larger rezoning that I spoke about. So this plan development permit that will establish that site layout is expected to be an addendum. So any minor changes that occur between the zoning and the actual development permit that they're proposing now will be analyzed in an environmental review document. So with that, I just want to leave my contact information. Once Adolfo goes up, I'll come back up and answer any questions you might have. But I have my contact information here. My name is Alec Atienza again. Feel free to give me a call. Always open to phone calls. Love a good phone call. Also, email if you would like a copy of the plans. I've also left a site plan outside. Any questions on the environmental review? I have David Keon. He's the environmental project manager. I have his contact up there as well. We also have a project website, and we can share these slides with Linda if you'd like, if anybody wants any interest, has any interest in those. And with that, pass it off to Adolfo. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you, Alec. Good afternoon, everyone. So I'm just going to go over some of the, kind of going back to what Alex said during the June 2021 rezoning. City Council essentially allocated some resources and direction to help the flea market vendors with the transition process of a potential closure, obviously, of the market. The 5 main components that City Council directed to the Office of Economic Development was to engage the vendors in the process, the transition process, support them during this period. A transition fund was created with $5 million provided by the property owner, and the city provided an additional $2.5 million with a total transition fund of $7.5 million. We were also directed to conduct economic studies and feasibility studies to explore operations of potential sites, alternative sites, and the economic impact of the market, along with creating an advisory group to give the flea market vendors a voice in the process, in the transition process. And finally, there was a designation for an urban market within the current various site for 5 acres. Just a little more on the urban market, because tend to be a lot of confusion about this. There was designation for an urban market, but there was not a requirement for the property owner or whoever purchased the land to build it right away. It was more allocating a portion of that. That being said, there were some other stipulations, such as introducing whoever is purchasing that urban market portion to the city, and also engaging the property owner into the advisory group, which is going to lead us a little on the closure right now. We recently, during the original rezoning in June 2021, there was a stipulation that the property owner could not give a closure notice before July 2023. However, recently the property owners have advised the city that they're not planning on giving any closure notice before October 2023 at least, but there is no specific official date when they're planning on providing that notice. So it's still unknown pretty much. And recently we just formed an advisory group, as I mentioned before. We held the first meeting this May 22nd, and there is a second meeting coming up on June 21st. The meetings are completely open to the public. And again, just a reminder, the advisory group, the purpose of it is just so they can essentially, again, provide a voice into the whole process. And the main goal for this year is at the end of the year, we're aiming to have a high-level plan as to what to do with the remaining $6 million that remains to be allocated within the transition fund. That being said, I'm the main contact right now for the project. If anyone here in the community and vendors, if anyone have any questions, my contact information is on the screen. Anyone feel free to reach out to me. Me and Alec will be here answering any questions. And now I would like to introduce you as well to Eric. Eric.
Thank you, Alec and Adolfo. My name is Eric Schoenauer, and I represent the Bum family, both the property owner and the flea market business owner. I don't really have any information to add. The presentation said it all. As the owner of the flea market business, we are looking forward to working with the city and the vendors to have the smoothest transition as possible when the time comes that redevelopment of the south side of Berryessa Road will happen. I've been working on this project for 23 years. I think I've been to BCAC 12 times to present this project over those years. And as you can see, going out to the site, half of the property has been developed. As Alec pointed out, on the north side of Berryessa, the apartments, the townhomes, the Safeway shopping center. There are two neighborhood parks that are going to commence construction this year under the leadership of Councilmember Cohen. And we hope to carry that quality of development to the south of Berryessa Road at the Berryessa BART station someday. But as Adolfo pointed out, there is no current timetable. We're required by city council policy to give at least a 1-year advance notice to the flea market vendors in the community. We've not issued that notice. We don't have any timetable to issue the notice. And we've publicly said, as was indicated on the slide, that certainly we won't be doing it before October 1st of this year. And I can say it's very likely that that date will get pushed out even further. So we want people to feel comfortable that the flea market is open for business and as good as ever, and we hope that you'll come out through the summer and support the vendors so they all can remain successful until a transition happens. So thank you very much. I'm available for questions as well.
We do. We have maps out on the table if you guys need them.
Hello, how you guys doing? My name is Alex. I'm a vendor at the Berryessa Flea Market. I have a question regarding the 5-acre urban market. Is that something that is planned on moving forward? And are you aware that most of the 500 vendors at the Berryessa Flea Market are not on board with the 5-acre urban market?
It
For the
was
re-
just a
for the- I'm sorry,
stipulation,
for the-
Alec. Can you clarify the question? Is it?
Yeah, the 5-acre urban market, most of the 500 vendors at the Berryessa Flea Market are not on board with the urban market, for the reason being that the transition will only be for some and not all 500 vendors. We currently operate on a 60-acre market that has about 925 rent spaces and approximately 3,800 parking spaces. And that's one of the reasons that the vendors are so successful at the Berryessa Flea Market. Now, the vendors, most of the 500 vendors at the Berryessa Flea Market are not on board with the 5-acre urban market. Are you guys taking that into consideration and finding a location big enough for all vendors to transition together?
As we have been saying during most of the community meetings, we understand that, and the urban market is just a component of a toolkit of solutions that we're looking into. We're not saying that all the vendors, obviously, it's mathematically is not possible, right? So it's just it's part of a toolkit of solutions that we're looking into, and it's a designation again.
Just to be clear, the 500 vendors, like you mentioned, it's absurd to even for the city of San Jose to give us such a proposal of a 5-acre urban market, right? Because that would be showing favoritism, they'll be biased, and it's not in the best interest of all vendors transition. So we, the vendors, would ask the city of San Jose if we do a survey or a petition and getting the votes of the vendors for the city of San Jose to scratch the 5-acre urban market out of the picture and start looking for a location that is reasonable and logical for all vendors to be transitioned together as one.
Right, and that's the reason we have an advisory group right now, and we're gonna be presenting economic studies information and alternative sites. And as I said, I repeat again, this is just part of a component that we're looking at. And as Alex said, this is a process that is gonna it can take a long time. And obviously we don't know if or when there was the designation to have an urban market. When is that gonna be built? You know, it's up to the property owners and who buys the property. That being said, that was just a designation from City Council when the rezoning was approved to allocate 5 acres. But as I said, we're looking into a set of solutions right now. And that's the reason we have the advisory group, and everyone is invited to attend the meetings and listen to the presentation, the information that we're gonna be presenting in the next coming months.
Just a quick question. Has a site been established for moving the vendors to another site? Has any talk started on that? Because there are as this gentleman mentioned, lots of vendors are there. Where are they going to be relocated?
Yeah, and that was part actually of the economic studies component. The city council directed city staff. So we hired a group of economists and consultants, and they're currently finalizing their findings and results. The component, as I said, the 3 main components of the economic studies were doing an economic impact study and looking into alternative sites along with operations of a potential market. But we still, essentially, we're finalizing, we're packaging the information. There was a lot of data, so it's been packaged and it's being worked to be presented to the advisory group members in the upcoming meetings. That's a good question, and that's going to be released in the next coming meetings with the report of the economist. Yeah. It's not necessarily a secret. I just don't want to interfere with the work of the economist, pretty much. Yeah.
Don't you feel that it was irresponsible for the city to approve anything without having this knowledge beforehand? So the vendors would have a location to go to when the Bum family decided to sell, which they're all in their rights to do so? Is it very irresponsible for the city to do that? And are you aware that the advisory group that you mentioned, only 13 applications were filled, and and out of those 13, 10 were accepted out of 500 vendors? Didn't the city of San Jose do a poorly job of accepting the advisory group that will be representing all vendors?
We did our diligence doing the outreach. We sent email communications, physical communications. I was there every weekend for 4 months physically at the flea market. We were answering any questions. We were really clear since the beginning. Every vendor was more than welcome to apply. And fortunately, you cannot obligate people to apply to a process. We did our diligence again, and if you go to the website, you can see all the efforts that we did, and we had actually 2 community meetings in addition to that. As to how many applicants applied, unfortunately, that's out of my control and the city control, but we did what we were supposed to be doing with outreach.
Yeah. So, quick question. The city of San Jose is using the funds from the vendors' transition funds to get data to move to a transition. And from my understanding, the city of San Jose's already spent, or I'm not too, please don't quote me, but $1 million finding resources, which are, those transition funds should be for the vendors and reserved for the vendors for future spendings.
The full breakdown of how much we had spent, it's actually public and available on our website. But there was a portion that went into the economic studies. And the economic studies, as I mentioned before, it's mainly 3 components. The first one is the economic impact, operations, and alternative sites research. The city did provide 2.5 million.
Stop spending and help raise funds to nonprofit organizations, charities, nations. The city should really do the diligence to really push forward because $2 million, not enough.
And I cannot talk about the gym because I don't have any context on that, but we went by the direction that we had at the time, and that was how the money was allocated. And that's in the community meetings we mentioned beforehand how that money was going to be allocated. So it was.
I'm sorry, I think I'm going to say, how can the city help more than $2 million? How can the city give more than $2 million?
I mean, unfortunately, that would be completely above my pay grade. I wouldn't be able to give you an answer on that. I can, yeah.
Okay. How was $2 million granted to the city? That's my question.
Are you talking about the 2.5 million?
2.5. How was that put in position to get to the vendor? Why was it 2.5?
I'm not sure. I was not in the rezoning in June 2021 when that happened. I mean, I'm not. It was a council decision. It was not a department, city department.
So how can us as vendors ask the city council for more money? How can we go about that? Because realistically, we're going to be more than the city transition to the location.
Right, and Lam and everyone here has been really open. If you have any suggestions to contact their office as well with the city council. I can definitely follow up and provide you with some information for the district office. Yeah. It might be. I'm not sure. I can look into it. See who's handling. Yeah. Are you talking? Yeah. For the council member will be David Cohen, correct? Mm-hmm.
As of the 1.5 million that you guys already spent, is that the only thing that you guys are going to spend, or is there going to be more spent from the city?
I couldn't hear you. What was the question?
The city already spent 1.5 from the 2.5 million, right?
I don't remember the exact number right now. It's always a little 9 p.m. But yes, we have spent about, I believe, $1.3 million or something on different components of not just economic studies. We recently launched a program designed to support the vendors during the transition program. So for that one was $500,000, then there was $500,000 for the economic studies and the formation of the advisory group.
So that's my other question is that the only thing that the city is going to spend, or is the city going to be spending more? From
That
this
will be up to
transition?
the advisory group.
Oh.
That's the reason we formed the advisory group, yeah.
You know, the various flea market has been there for 60 years. We used to get about $4 million, I mean, 4 million people visiting the flea market a year. That's twice more than in San Francisco. So the various flea market had a lot to do with the city of San Jose on the life of that state. And we not to have, it's very responsible, not to have these answers, questions from you and the police of the city. Should have, regardless if it's 9 or 8 o'clock at night, should have a documented data in hand to be able to provide for us.
They're public information, they can be found in the website.
I just mentioned that there's a number of us that have been around Berryessa for a very long time, over 50 years. So we've appreciated the flea market and the concerns that are going on and the interest in this. That's why we invited them to come and let you know what's going on. We didn't know either. So thank you all for coming tonight. I will dismiss you all.